Hello everyone, welcome. I am so excited that you're here. My name is Stephanie. I am the founder and teacher behind Mrs. D's Corner and the Intentional IEP. And today I want to share with you kind of how to make your own IEP work bins. So what I have here is just a regular box that I purchased at Walmart. It was like $1 or something, maybe it was like even 58 cents or something. I have some felt, I have some duct tape, and I have my hot glue gun over here heating up. So why are we talking about IEP work bins today? Well, when you teach special education, regardless of what age you teach or regardless of, what classroom setting you're in, your students have IEPs. Now, IEPs are those individualized education programs, right? And with that comes all of your students having IEP goals. So one of the biggest questions that I get frequently is how do you make sure that you are not only collecting data on the IEP goals, but making sure that you have enough data, especially when you have larger caseloads, or maybe you want to do it in a center rotation. How do you do this so that you're meeting the needs of all of your students and collecting all of that progress monitoring data and that baseline data on all of those goals to make decisions at the IEP table? Well, IEP work bins are one of those ways that you can do that. They may or may not work for you or your students, depending upon your students, your classroom, how much space you have available to house the work bins, and a lot of other variables as well. But they are a great option that you can do in a variety of different ways. So typically IEP work bins are bins that you have that are those plastic bins, those really nice ones from either Lakeshore Learning or even Target and Walmart sell them now. And you can get them, they're typically anywhere from $3 to $5, $6, depending on if you get the lid or not and all of that good stuff. So when I taught in a self-contained classroom, I had IEP work bins for my students. Now, the work bins, the plastic bins were not provided by the district or the school that I worked for. I purchased them with my own money. And a lot of teachers, if you're brand new, you're like, I don't know if these are gonna work for me, or I don't have the budget to purchase those right now. Most of the time, we have boxes laying around. I'm looking at you, Amazon wish list. We have a bunch of boxes just sitting around at our houses, within our classrooms, that we can reuse for other things, whether it be heavy work tasks, whether it be using IEP work bins, sorting, recycling. You can use them for so many different reasons. Why not use them to try IEP work bins in your classroom? Now, if you've been following me for any amount of time, you know that I love color coding in the classroom. I will leave a link below this video so y'all can watch and learn more about color coding in your classroom. So that's why I have blue duct tape, and that's also why I have the blue felt. Now I have two pieces here. I wasn't sure how much it was going to take to cover this. So backstory, a couple of weeks ago I was reading this book. I love reading professional development books for special education teachers and sharing that information with you. And the one thing that this book talked about was IEP task boxes, IEP work bins. Now the book wasn't about work bins or task boxes, but it brought it up. And one of the ways to do this wasn't using those plastic bins. It was using just a regular box and having student work in them. And that's when my mind got spinning. I was like, wow, we could color code them. You could use duct tape to color code the boxes to really reinforce the inside or the outside of the box for longevity. You could use felt, because then felt, you can take Velcro icons and stick it to and from if you want to students, to have a work bin or have different work bins set up or centers in your classroom where they're taking visual icons and moving from one bin to the other, or maybe you have a rotating schedule for them to work through certain bins on certain days of the week, whichever it may be. You have different options when it comes to these things. Now, I have used Velcro on those plastic bins. Depending on the bin, sometimes the Velcro comes off, like the Velcro dot comes off of the bin. Sometimes the Velcro dots are too small and you have to put a bigger piece there. There's variables with everything, right? What works best for one teacher in one classroom may not work best for the other classroom or another teacher next door. It's all about what works best for you in your classroom, and that is why I'm bringing this video to you today to share with you one more way that is inexpensive with probably resources that you already have laying around so you can make these bins for your students and give them a shot in your classroom. So what I'm gonna do is I am going to make this bin, come back, and then show you what it looks like. All right, our IEP work bin is done. If you wanted to DIY it yourself using a box, some felt, some duct tape, however you wanted to do that, You certainly don't have to color code them if you didn't want to. Is it absolutely necessary? No, you could just reuse a box, tape it up so that it stays. So what I did was I actually put some felt on the bottom and then I taped up the sides so that it doesn't come up. I used just duct tape. I color coded it, of course, because the classroom that I'm in is color coded. So the felt on the front, what I did was I grabbed 2 of the behavior ring key icons and I threw Velcro on the back just to show you. So what you would do is, let's say that maybe you just have different work bins in your classroom that students rotate through. And maybe this one is a board game and maybe they're taking turns and they're sharing. So you can reuse your work bins throughout the school year, change them out as needed to put different tasks inside of them, different activities. And then you could keep them inside of this bin at all times throughout the school year. Now, long range, how long is this going to last? Again, it really depends on your classroom and what it's being used for and how it's being utilized and how frequently. But if you are looking for something to see if a certain center rotation or if, IEP work bins are going to work for you in your classroom, but you don't want to invest the money yet in having those plastic bins that are a couple dollars a piece, certainly give one of your boxes a try that you have just sitting around. We have all of these supplies in our classrooms already. We already have, a lot of us have felt. If not, we have markers and construction paper. You certainly can do construction paper. Slap a piece of Velcro on the top so that you can, use it for these Velcro pieces. We all have tape in our classroom, whether or not it's duct tape. A lot of us do have duct tape or the painter's tape, colored painter's tape. I've had that in my classroom as well. And then I know we all have boxes hanging around from just online orders for different things. So give it a try. You have all of these resources in your classroom. You don't need to go spend any extra money on them, but give it a shot if you're thinking about using IEP work bins. If you're curious about doing academic centers or IEP work bins in your classroom, regardless of what grade level you teach and regardless of what classroom setting you're in, I'm going to leave a blog post linked here all about how I do center rotations in my classroom. This will give you a better look at how I would be using this in my classroom, what my students would be doing, what would go inside, what kind of work bins would you put in here, or task boxes or activities, what would go in here, and everything else is in that blog post. So I will leave that there for y'all, and I'll also link another video where I show a bunch of different stuff inside of my IEP work bins when I was in the classroom. So take a look at those. I hope that this how-to video was helpful for you. If you have any questions or you're like, man, that's a great idea, I'm gonna try this, or if you've already tried it and you're like, yes, it worked for me, or no, it didn't, let us know in the comments. I love hearing from y'all what works for you, what hasn't worked for you, what classroom setting you're in, what you're teaching. I love hearing everything that y'all have to say. So thank y'all so much for being here. We will see y'all in the next video.